All right, so I solved the matrix challenge in Exercism. And essentially what was being asked was given a string of numbers, each with a new line embedded at the end, which would end up looking like this. So these would be your rows on this side, and then the columns on the top. You had to build a class or a series of methods to spit out all of the rows like so, and then all of the columns as well. So if I jump over into VS Code, I can show the tests. So it wants you to extract a row, then it wants to extract the same row again with different numbers. Then it extracts a different row. And so you can see here, this is what is actually being passed in. There's a series of numbers with spaces for each row, and then a new line that separates it into the next row. So one thing that was coming in was a string, and then it was asking for the data to be output as a series of integers that were separate elements in each row. So the first thing that I needed to do was to separate all of the numbers out into elements. And I tried putting it into an array, but then I lost, like, they were all in the same level now, and I couldn't differentiate which ones were in the first row or the second row. So what I ended up doing was building a two-dimensional array. That way I could first cut all of the blocks of numbers between the new lines into separate arrays. So for example, if you had the string 1, 2, 3, new line 4, 5, 6, the first step was getting it into an array like so. 1, 2, 3, and then having the second element as the second string, 4, 5, 6 spaces. And that is done with the rows method. So just set an instance variable of matrix to matrix string.split at the new line. So that's what turns this string into an array with two string values. And then from there, what I needed to do was turn this into two sets of arrays where you could now go 1, 2, and 3, and then a second array with the second row. And the reason I went with this is because I had already discovered a really fantastic method called transpose, which basically is kind of cheating in this, I feel, because it allows you, once you've got your rows together in a two-dimensional array, you just run transpose on your 2D array, and it automatically spits out the columns for those. Because I already knew about transpose, I said, oh, okay, it just needs to be a two-dimensional array. And then the final step is just to convert all of these strings into integers. So if we come back in here, matrix string split gets you this. And then to get in here, I did a map method in order to spit out a new array. So then I split each of these again, which each split creates a new array. And then it takes all of these items and we split them into their separate elements into its own array. And then at first I was trying to just do like string.split.map.toInteger here, but then it was coming across all kinds of problems and I didn't like it. And it was trying to turn like the whole array into an integer from memory. So I ended up actually nesting another map method inside this map method, because I was already there at the element. I could just now change each one to an integer while I was already there, and then just come out and finish with essentially that, but with integers. And then those would all be integers. So that gives you the rows. And then, as I mentioned before, columns just allows you to take all of these rows, which are stored in rows, and just transpose them to get the columns. And that was basically it. I might just finish off with a couple of things I noticed that I could have improved. Straight after publishing it, I realized that I could have condensed all of this garbage into the, was it ampersand, and then whatever it was, map and 2i as a symbol. So that would have been a little bit neater there. And I discovered that you can actually do exactly this method here with the each line method, which I thought was cool at first, but then I thought, why would you bother creating a separate method called each line, which is only 2 characters shorter than just calling dot split using new line as a delimiter? So if someone knows why this is significantly better than this, let me know. Otherwise, I think it's kind of a just overkill when you've already got a perfectly good method that does it here. But yeah, that's the matrix.
Cool. Can we see some of them tests?
Oh yeah, you can see some of them tests. Would probably help if, yep, would probably help if I didn't have those in there. There we go.
Ooh, live coding and everything. So all I heard from that is that you cheated with transpose. So
Yep.
You have a failed mark. Unfortunately, no, I'm kidding. well done. It was great. So you mentioned that you submitted yours, yeah?
Yeah.
So did you have a chance to look at some other solutions?
Yes. So I looked at a few others. Looking at the other solutions is what tipped me off to the each line method as a replacement for the split at new line method here. And also reminded me that I didn't have to build all of this garbled junk here, and I could just replace it with the this block here, which was much cleaner and neater.
Cool. I guess my take on the each line is that first, Ruby's really nice like this, in that it has lots of different ways of achieving the same thing, which is, it can be more of just a way that someone likes to express the way they code it. It also is probably, it maybe reads a little nicer. Like I know that I am going through each line as opposed to having to read split and then a slash and then an N. And I think largely each line returns like an enumerator instead of the thing that happens. And so I think you can then do something else with that enumerator instead of having it like done then and there. So I think each line is slightly different, and it's
a little bit more advanced.
Yeah.
There's more functionality. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks, Waldo. That's great. Does anyone have, just having a look at the chat first. Does anyone have any questions? Okie dokie. Cool. Well, that's it. Thank you very much, Waldo. That was great.